I want to just go ahead and ask, do you have any questions before we begin or for Mr. Cunningham? Anybody? I'm thinking that maybe they have questions for
Okay,
you.
well, let me explain a little bit. Comes from the Council on Foreign Relations. Council on Foreign Relations is an organization that was developed here in the United States to help facilitate different dialogues between countries. It's got many former very high officials in administration and stuff in both our political parties. The current president is Richard Haas. They started about a couple years ago with collegiate programs like this, and now they moved it to the high school. And they have different topics. This topic is about global climate change, how you could get dialogue between countries, and what normally would just be done in the classroom. So I contacted the Council on Foreign Relations this year and told them, I said, this would be really good to actually try to communicate between countries, because it's probably more importantly to do at that level than it would be this. And if you guys are going to be future leaders of the world, you would want to know some of the major problems. So we have issues like with China, North Korea, Japan, Middle East, all kinds of different issues. And there's like 20, I believe 20 something odd, not that they're odd, 20 different role-playing models like this that you can do and put into your classroom. We just happened to agree on this one so we could start this today. But the actual one that they designed was, you're going to do exactly the same thing here, but you would just do it inside the classroom. And then we just took it to this level here. So that gives you a little bit of explanation of the Council on Foreign Relations. And so far we've done it with several other countries, and it's been really interesting. We've learned quite a bit of stuff. So whenever you're ready, if you have a question, I'll be glad to answer. If not, let's start.
Okay. Then we will start with our first official, and that's the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs. In response to the climate change, Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a video showing how Taiwan uses innovative ways to mitigate climate change. The purpose of producing and releasing the videos is to share what Taiwan has accomplished in environmental protection, especially in response to climate change.
Do you see our
Yeah.
PowerPoint slide?
The main context is the reconstruction of homeland through methods of conservation. As a result of the destruction of volume typhoons, many areas in Taiwan are seriously damaged, especially Pingtung area. Eco-friendly solutions has been used in restoration. For example, generating electricity by fishery site. What is generating electricity by fishery site? Fishery sites that are no longer in use can be rented out to install solar panels. The lower land area near ocean, plus illegal fishery sites and overpumping the groundwater cause the serious damage. It has caused great situation of soil colonization in the desired area. The using of fishery sites help those who rely on farming fisheries to change their career, so they are no longer in use to pump up the groundwater, and the carbon of substance will be reduced. Because of the climate change, the rise in temperatures leads to the outbursts and expansions of new kinds of disease like dengue fever. Some diseases that only appear in tropical area can now break out in a higher latitude area. To avoid the spread of the disease, we should seek to cooperate with other countries in developing, researching, and solving the problem together. Thank you.
And after the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have the Director of Environmental Protection.
I'm Director of Environmental Protection. In response to global climate change, Environmental Protection Agency finds that the main source of air pollution includes factory transportation and garbage disposal. We raise policy suggestions to improve the situation. First, transportation. People in Taiwan usually ride their scooters or drive to work, which produces much exhaust gas. We are formulating policies on the purchase of electric buses, electric cars subsidized by the government, and encourage people to discard the old scooters and promote public transportation so as to reduce the carbon emission. We'll promote will promote electric buses next year, and the budget is $10 million US. Second, power generation. To generate electricity, Taiwan depends on thermal power generation, which causes a lot of pollution. But we should put effort into developing generating solar power and wind power. We hope to follow the lead of Germany and Spain to develop related skills in generating wind power and solar power. Third, garbage disposal. The method that we use to deal with garbage is incineration. In order to reduce the amount of garbage, from January 1st, 2018, we banned all stores from giving out plastic bags to customers, and will ban the straws for drinks to customers next year. We decrease environmental damage not only by limiting the use of plastic bags and straws, but also developing technology in recycling. For example, making clothes with material of plastic bottle. In 2016, all Taiwanese athletes' sports shirts are made just from plastic bottle material. Aside from the above policies, we also propose levying the environmental tax to balance the expenses for the above policy, and increase environmental awareness in response to global climate change. We would mitigate environmental and climate problems in Taiwan through these policies. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have the Minister of National Defense.
I'm the Minister of National Defense. We will abide by environmental protection policies, but we need to keep national security and combat preparation in mind. So we promote related measures to reduce the energy and to reach the sustainable development. Global warming leads rising sea level, so the city on the coast are flooded. Different kinds of viruses spread disease among humans due to high temperature, and food supply has decreased because of the drought. As for petroleum and natural gas, they are important raw materials for modern industry. However, because of the growth of population, energy is not enough. It has much influence on industries and national security. We made three policies to solve the above problems. First, in order to conserve energy and to reduce combat emissions. So we discard all military weapons and equipment so as to achieve energy conservation. Second, Taiwan mainly relies on the ocean. So, prevention and control of marine pollution is one of the focuses of national security. We will control the harbor to prevent factories from dumping wastewater into the ocean. Third, solar panels are set up on the roof of public buildings to supply hot water. We will also increase the number of green eco buildings. The species that come from other cities will affect the survival of local species, change the original ecosystem, impact the economy of agriculture and the quality of living. In 2017, we have prevented the invasion of red leopard fire ants in 9 places, and the invasion of American rock, a kind of plant, in 12 places. The above policies may require a big expenditure. However, the people in Taiwan may become environmental refugees, so the above measures are necessary actions to take. Thank you.
Next, the Director General of Energy.
I'm Director General of Energy. According to the investigation conducted by Environmental Protection Administration, the main reason for the cause of climate change is the exhaustive emission from thermal power in Taiwan. Electricity generated from thermal power account for 80%. Nuclear power account for 13.5%. Pumped storage electricity account for 1.4%. As for renewable energy, hydropower accounts for 2.9%. Wind power accounts for 0.6%, and solar energy accounts for 0.5%. To mitigate global warming caused by thermal power in Taiwan, the Bureau of Energy would like to propose the following. First, we should restart the fourth nuclear plant and discard the first nuclear plant in northern Taiwan. The fourth nuclear plant is the latest nuclear plant in Taiwan, and it is more complete in technology and security. We want to restart the fourth nuclear plant to increase the electricity generated from nuclear power and decrease the electricity generated from thermal power. Second, we should discard the thermal power plant. The thermal power plants we discard can be transformed into the hydro power plant or wind power plant so that more clear energy can be produced. In conclusion, there should be different ways to generate electricity in different regions. It is impossible to solve all problems with one solution, so we should have various power generate methods and plans in different regions. This is the proposal in response to climate change from the Bureau of Energy. Thank you.
Minister of Finance.
I'm the Minister of Finance. In response to the worldwide need for imposing environmental tax, we analyze the method that various countries use to impose environment-related tax in the world, and utilize this example to explore whether Taiwan can adapt this method to explore environmental tax. Now, there are many countries impose energy tax or greenhouse gas emissions tax in the world. However, levy on tax will not work if the tax season is not sound enough. For example, Australia cancelled the carbon tax because the competitiveness of enterprise had dropped significantly. However, if the tax season can respond to the needs of country, the profit will double. Take England, for example. They impose a tax on industry with the most carbon emission, with the with the with the most carbon emissions, and give major industry with preferential treatment. This approach not only reduce the carbon emissions, but also increase the enterprise incomes. The draft of imposing environmental tax is being discussed. However, the tax policy will not pass due to the economic problems and the development problems. However, if we have a sound taxation system and appropriate tax allocation and coordinate among departments to prevent the industry from moving overseas, and also to prevent the waste of money and energy if the tax policy cannot be put into effect. Thank you.
The president?
I'm the president. We will take action in accordance with the following policies in response to climate change. At COP21 in Paris on December 12, 2015, parties to the UNFCCC reached a landmark agreement to strengthen the global response by keeping the global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further by 1.5 degrees Celsius. This agreement came into force on November 4, 2016. It also requires developed countries to offer climate change fundings to developing countries so that these countries can reduce their emission of greenhouse gas and be able to face the consequence of global warming. Even though Taiwan had not signed this agreement, we also endeavor to reach the goal. For instance, we will reduce the proportion of coal-fired power generation from 45% to 30% by 2025. The alternative strategies are increasing the generation of electricity with water, using wind power, hydroelectric power to reduce thermal power generation, and improving the equipment and facility in existing thermal power plants for the purpose of reducing the damage caused by thermal power to environment. The aforementioned approaches can replace the opening of the fourth nuclear power plant and help us move to the goal of a non-nuclear homeland that I promised. The government will continue the subsidy plan of electric vehicle purchase and expand the public transport construction. We will stimulate the use of public transportation with promotion and encouragement policies. In the future, we will set up solar energy equipment on the current unused state-owned land and promote the electricity generation by making use of fishery sites. And we will not discard the old military weapons or show the new way of garbage disposal. Since there are other priority matters we should take care of first, we will provide the inhabitants in Taiwan with a better environment to live in. And contributes to mitigating global warming. Thank you.
If that concludes our side
Okay,
for model diplomacy.
we'll start with ours then. As soon as I get it pulled up here a second.
A quick question
Yes.
for Michael. When you were listening to their presentations, were we on the right track in preparing for this?
Yeah, oh yeah, you're doing a great job. No problem.
We were afraid that we'll be missing the point, or I don't know. Not doing
that's exactly the
simulation.
point. We took just a little different take, but not much different. It'll depend on each country. So what you see, just a second, what you see is not what I want you to see. Okay. Let's see if I can do it this way.
Good morning, Mr. President. I, Ms. Rodriguez, EPA Director, propose the following points to curtail global climate change. Mr. President, it is clear today that the amount of damage caused by pollution has sensitive to no return. Many will try to argue that climate change is false because the climate is constantly changing. That is not a real issue. Mr. President, climate change is real, and although we cannot stop it, we can help suppress its negative effects, which is why we need to act now. And I recommend the following plan of action. First, we should start with a clean power plan. Second, negotiate with other countries to protect oceans. And finally, be stricter on our federal laws and punishments for those who harm our environment. Power plants account for nearly 40% of U.S. carbon dioxide emissions. That's more than every car, truck, and airplane combined in the U.S. With a stricter enforcement of the Clean Air Act, our carbon emissions would be reduced by 42% and achieve a 30% renewable energy by 2030. The U.S. can affordably cut global warming emissions, chart a course towards a clean energy future, and deliver significant health and economic benefits to all Americans. Next, we should negotiate with other countries to protect our oceans. Land use is complicated, unlike oceans, or at least large portions of it. They can be protected by executive fiat, just like President Bush did in 2006 when he declared the world's largest marine monument northwest of Hawaii. Mr. President, you could do the same with other parts of the ocean and even negotiate with other countries to protect oceans. Clean oceans mean a future for all of us and all of the people around the world. Remember that marine plants produce between 70 and 80% of all the oxygen in the atmosphere. And if oceans are not safe, then the people are in danger as well. But we cannot live without oxygen. Next, we should also be stricter on our federal laws and punishments for those who harm our environment. We need to stop granting favors to big companies and stop covering and ignoring the breach of law by large industries. Money is not worth the cost of innocent lives. For these reasons, Mr. President, I ask that you act now and apply my plan of action. Do not prioritize money over our citizens' lives. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm Madison Eccleston, UN Ambassador, propose a follow-up idea to keep pace the threat of global climate change. Climate change is a global issue that does not respect our national borders. Polluted discharge anywhere affects people from every region and every region around the world. It's an issue that requires solutions that need to be coordinated at the international level, meaning adding on to members of the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is an agreement with the United Nations that deals with the regulation and emission of greenhouse gases. Many developing nations are opposed to the idea of the Paris Agreement because it seems unfair. However, it is more unfair to force our views onto not only people of our own nation, but of people of nations that aren't even our own. If anything, the Paris Agreement is the most fair for not only the citizens of the world to take care of now, but for the generations to come. It is extremely urgent that we take part in climate change now. People claim that global climate change should not be taken seriously because the globe's climate has always fluctuated. They don't seem to realize that the world has never changed climate as rapidly as it is now. For instance, the Pacific island nation of Kiribati has declared that the rapid increased water temperatures over the past 6 years have left their land uninhabitable. Taking charge and fighting against global climate change now makes no sense in regards to economics as well. The longer it takes for us to take action, the more we pay. We have to pay for our people's health, we have to pay to clean our water and our air. We have to pay to rebuild the areas that no longer withstand life, environment, poisonous being smug. There's no doubt that the Earth would be better off with this agreement being put into this globally. This agreement will help push humanity closer to reaching the goals of sustainability. The agreement will provide all the tools needed in order to not only address, but slow down enough to allow humanity to adapt to the damages already committed by climate change. It is for these reasons that we see no other reasonable answers to the tragedy of climate change than this.
Good morning, Mr. President. I, Jonathan Franklin, U.S. Secretary of Treasury, propose the following to change global warming. Climate change is a huge problem to today's society. It needs to adjust immediately. It's something we can't just put a band-aid over. We need to change as soon as possible. First, we need to understand where the problem of global warming is coming from. For this, we need a call of action for all the countries to come together and meet and in a public place, and we need to hear all the issues that are facing different nations around the world. Then we need to start right here in the U.S. and factor in our problems and address them immediately. To do this, we need to tax cut all non-carbon emitting companies, and this will promote big companies going greener faster and just ultimately better for the environment. Then we're going to cut all red tape off of everyday people putting clean energy into their homes. This includes solar, wind turbines, anything you can find, you can put in your homes without permits or anything like that. And then lastly, putting programs in school to teach kids about clean energy. This will ultimately provide a ripple effect for generations to come after us, because the kids are the future, and time is now to change global. Thank you.
Mr. President, I, Jessica Delorena, the National Security Advisor, propose the following to solve this deadly global climate change that we are facing. Now, climate change will undermine efforts to decrease world poverty, directly threatening people's homes and livelihoods through increasing storms, droughts, diseases, and other stressors. Not only will this delay and prevent development, it will also increase national and regional instability and intensify income disparities between rich and poor. This in turn will lead to military confrontations over distribution on the world's wealth, which will be terrorism and transnational crime. These are crimes that have potential effects across national borders and crimes that are inside the states, in which fundamental values of the international community. This does not sound like a world I would like to live in, and I bet neither would you. Mr. President, I hope you take into consideration my proposition and that you will see that global warming is indeed real and not a myth. Mr. President, I, Stephanie Cortez, the Chief of Staff, propose the following to change global climate change, but first I will state some of the facts. First, the CO2 content of the atmosphere is rising, and due to its rise in the atmosphere, it is connected largely paralleled by the increase in fossil fuel combustion. Combustion of fossil fuels results in emission of CO2, so it is inevitably reasonable to link the two increases. The expected increase in the energy of the lower troposphere may cause long-term changes in the climate and thermosphere, which can be characterized by increasing frequency and or magnitude of extreme weather events, an increase in sea temperatures, the reduction in ice cover, and many other changes. The greatest threat that sea levels may rise and flood large areas that are densely inhabited. So what's the single biggest way we can make an impact on global climate change? We could talk to our friends and family, make sure representatives are making good decisions. And my voice our concerns via social media, and better yet, directly to our elected officials. Send a message that we care about the water and life. You can also encourage Congress to enact new laws that limit carbon emissions to require polluters to pay for the emissions they produce. That way, we can help protect public lands and stop offshore drilling. We can also choose a utility company that generates at least half its power from wind or solar, and has been certified by Green E-Energy, an organization that bets renewable energy option. But if that is impossible, many electric utilities now list other ways to support renewable resources on their monthly sales website. Among these, building, heating, and cooling.
Mr. President, I advocate believe that as a experienced state proposed foreign groups that climate change reduces global climate change. Global warming is having significant harmful effects on our community, our health, and our climate. Sea level rise is accelerating, the number of large wildfires growing, aging heat waves are becoming common, extreme storm events are increasing in many areas, and more severe droughts are creating others. Rising sea level, the current trend of community from winter drought and going of oil food for rising world population. Low-lying areas, including many of the world's major cities, being forced to build expensive weapons and more extreme heat waves, preparing the safety of millions of people and cost restrictions that cost a lot of money. Carbon dioxide is the most important of the state's major greenhouse gases. These gases trap the sun's heat close to Earth, causing the planet to warm, which is melting glaciers and greenhouse gases. We could stop the way we burn fossils to get power, heat, transport, and emission that contributes to greenhouse gases to our atmosphere. We could stop this by using renewable energy, for example, solar energy. Solar energy can not only make up our Earth, but it can also be. Climate change will a determined effort to remove carbon directly drain people's homes and livelihoods to increase storage, drought, disease, and other stresses. Greenhouse gas emissions are expected to double in the next 15 years, causing global temperature to rise 3 feet or more by the end of the century. Nuclear power is started to public years possibility in nuclear gas and safety. In conclusion, we should promote this course of action for the businesses to change how this would affect global change. The effects of climate change pose risk not only to the environment but also to security and livelihood of people in the United States and around the world. Greetings, Mr. President. I'm Audrey Oxono, Vice President. My job is to make sure to maintain and play the position when they're absent, as well as to give references. We have an issue of the Earth's climate change has to global warming. Let's start from broad to more considered by the concept. Our climate has become much more due to the fact that carbon dioxide in our atmosphere has increased. The causes are the usage of natural resources such as oil, gases, and coal are being used more than the limit as well as the expansion of greenhouses, nitric acid production, and the burning of biomass. To be more in depth, because of the human activities, people are burning fossil fuels, changing the lifestyle of agriculture, using more energy and water, cutting out plants, etc. These resources are being used more efficiently. For my assistance for the year, I want the educational board to remove unnecessary material that are being taught to the student and replace them of the subject of a world society, so they can be involved and help make the world a much better place. Doing minor actions such as recycling, conserving water and electricity. This will not only benefit us to save money, but can also help our local markets. Secondly, we need to restrain our healthcare programs and other programs as well. We need to start focusing on the things that will have a large amount of impact on us. If we don't try to work together and unite, they'll never make task on us. Thank you. Mr. President, I mentioned the last week Secretary of Homeland Security proposed the following points to change priorities of global climate change. First, the Secretary of Homeland Security outlines which will work to keep out terrorist capabilities and defenses around the world due to the fact of anti pollution to the air which results in the Good morning, Mr. President. I have the Chairman of the Defense Staff propose the following 5 points to help change the economy. Climate change is affecting all parts of the world, and although it is the biggest problem right now, we need to address it because the problem that is no longer fixed. My first suggestion is that the National Security Council for climate change should be fully integrated into the national security and national defense strategies. The intelligence community should incorporate climate consequences into its national intelligence system. Second, the U.S. should commit to a stronger national and international role to help stabilize climate change at levels that will avoid significant distribution of global security and stability. Third, the U.S. should commit a global partnership that helps less developed nations build capacity and resilience to better manage climate impacts. Fourth, the Department of Defense should enhance its operational compatibility by accelerating the adoption of improved business processes and innovative technologies that result in improved U.S. combat power throughout energy efficiency. And my fifth and final suggestion is that the Department of Defense should conduct assessment of the impact on the U.S. military installations worldwide of rising sea level, extreme weather events, and other projected climate change impacts over the next 30 to 40 years. In conclusion, we should promote this course of action to help our environment and our people. Thank you. Stop this by assuming no years from this course of action.
I use a common national intelligence proposed the following points to protect the world climate change. Mr. President, the current fund is of particular significance because most of it is extremely likely greater than 95% probability to the result of human activities. This is the mid-20th century. Out of it in satellite and other technology advanced has enabled scientists to see the future, collecting many different types of information about our planet and climate on a global scale. This body of data collected over many years revealed the significant signals of a changing climate. Mr. President, my first point I want to curtail is to forgo fossil fuels by eliminating the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas. These are the most denoted challenge as rich nations literally eat, wear, work, play, and even sleep on the board of main functions for civilized sunshine. Mr. President, my second point is infrastructure upgrade. Buildings worldwide contribute around 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions, which is 43% in the US alone. Even though investing in cheap isolation and other cost-effective, temperature regulating steps can save money in the long run. Electric gas that has a capacity of overloaded, but power demand continues to rise. And bad roads can lower the fuel economy of even the most flexible people Investing in new infrastructure for radical upgrading existing highways and transmission lines will help cut greenhouse gases emissions and drive economic growth in the developing countries. And third point is we should be efficient. The potential simpler and even bigger impact can be made by doing more with less. Good driving and good car maintenance just as making sure the tires are properly inflated and limits the amount of greenhouse gas emission from your vehicle, and perhaps more importantly, lower the frequency of payments at the pump. Mr. President, I also believe we should put strict laws towards the cutting down of forest trees. Every year, 33 million acres of forest are cut down. Timber harvesting in the tropics alone contributes 1.5 billion metric tons of carbon to the atmosphere. That represents 20% of human-made greenhouse gas emissions, and a source that could be avoided relatively easily. Improve agricultural practice along with paper recycling and forest management, balancing the amount of food taken out with the amount of new tree growing will quickly eliminate this significant chunk of emission. A final point that I want to portray is for people to move closer to work. Transportation is the second leading source of greenhouse gas emission in the US. Burning a single gallon of gasoline produces 20% of CO2. There is also the option of working with home and telecommunicating several days a week. Cutting down on long distance travel will also help. Most notable the airplane flights, which are one of the fastest growing sources of greenhouse gas emission, and a source that arguably reduce source emission in the worst possible spots higher in the atmosphere. Restricting flying to only critical long distance trips in many parts of the world. Therefore, trains can replace planes for short. To medium distance trips without airplane emission.
Okay, a second. All right. Greetings to everyone who can make it today. Today we're here to talk about global climate change and how it affects us all, and how we should all make a difference by helping each other and communicating through facts and through statistics and figures to make sure that we don't ruin the earth that we have, that we're already on, for later generations. We can do this by investing more funds into research on climate change to make sure that what we know now is accurate, and find even more information should there be more factors into climate change that we aren't considering. We should be able to compromise over global trade agreements to make sure that they're better for the world and for the economy, make them as positive as we can, so that way everyone benefits, including the world. And finally, I would like to rehash the Paris Agreement. I would like to have another opening of the Paris Agreement, because it was due to communication errors and lack of information for some countries that had them drop out or had them not sign the Paris Agreements at all. So if we could have a better version of the Paris Agreement, in which everyone shares information more readily, everyone shares their opinions more readily, and we can come to compromises quicker and easier, then that would also be a very good thing to do in regards to help stopping climate change and stopping these drastic changes of weather. I thank you all for being here today, and I hope that after this speech and after the conversations that we will have to have over global climate change, that we can make the world a better place for later generations, and even today if we do it well enough.
Mary, we're open for questions.
So, do you want any side to go first and ask any Anybody question or?
Yeah, go ahead. You guys can go first, and then hopefully we'll have some more people come in, and we'll go on this side. If not, Chance here will be able to ask some questions too. Go ahead.
Questions for? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we have a question here.
Questions for intellectual.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Just ask.
I'm curious about how NASA found the planet with the satellite, and how about the latest news about the research or something. And I have heard that Japan has found the new material on the asteroid with a satellite for 7 years. So that's a question.
Wait, what's the question? Could you?
How NASA found the planet by satellite?
Oh, okay. So, I think, of course, we'll have to include. I feel like making sure that the satellite doesn't affect anyone or the Earth is going to take multiple countries. It's not going to take just China or just America. It's going to have to be an international effort to make sure that this doesn't pollute as much as it could be able to should we let it be unfettered. I personally am not an expert. You have to go to people who work for NASA, people who work for space administration. But my best hopes would be that people who work in aeronautics and in space around the world could be able to come together and make sure that this doesn't affect the Earth or people.
Okay, thank you.
Other question?
I have a question. So as I've been talking about international help, what can you do to help countries that are overpolluting due to their population, such as like China? Do you have any ways that you might be able to help?
Anybody or get the question? Take the question. How do you provide help to countries that are still struggling with the climate change problem, and they're probably the ones that are emitting a lot of greenhouse gases right now? Yeah, go ahead.
I think China might be struggle for their economy for several years, and I think the main point is to educate their sons and their next generation to reduce the carbon emission in the future. Thank you.
So, following that route, would you say that it's better to educate?
Yeah.
It's better to educate and make sure that everyone gets a good, decent education on global climate change, and that's what the international community should be putting money into?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from either side? Because now is the time to ask questions. You can ask for further information on a certain issue, or you can ask questions to challenge the other side. It doesn't really. Yeah, we have a question here as well. You want to go first?
Sure. So I have a question on how pollution currently affects you. Maybe not even your own pollution, but pollution that comes from other countries, since it doesn't follow borders. So how does the pollution from those countries that do overpollute due to their population affect you?
Anybody would like to take the question? Did you get the question? Did you understand the question? Okay, could you repeat the question again?
How do countries that overpollute, that are close to Taiwan, how does that pollution affect you?
Okay. So how do countries that are polluting their land, and these countries are near Taiwan. How do they affect us? I think you can start from various aspects. For example, I think recently we are still experiencing the air pollution.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, go ahead.
There are air pollution and ocean pollution may affect around the world. So the air pollution may affect our bodies. We may have some allergic or some problems about breathe. And the ocean pollution may decrease the um, uh, the quantity of fish, and they will die if the ocean is polluted.
Yeah, I think anybody can add to that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think air pollution is mainly caused by the China's industrial activities, and it often happens in winter
because of the seasonal wind.
Yes.
So what happens is that the pollution that is created in China, it blows all the way across the ocean to Taiwan, and we actually can experience it very seriously in Taiwan. And that is a major problem for us because it is bad for our respiratory system. And we also experience the marine pollution that is quite serious to us in Taiwan because we're an island and we're surrounded by the seas. So, of course, probably and most likely, the inhabitants in Taiwan are also contributing to that factor. But all those who polluted the ocean have made the ocean quite unbearable, and that is also a huge influence on us as well.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Your Environmental Protection Agency just mentioned that you plan on negotiating with other countries to protect oceans. Then, how exactly do you plan on doing that?
Again, I personally am not as educated on Environmental Protection Agency as the person who runs the Environmental Protection Agency. But I would hope that we move to stop having such big oil spills as what has happened in the past, as with the Gulf of Mexico and things like that. I would hope that small programs to stop people from littering on beaches as it goes into the water and it ruins the ecosystem of the water and aquatic life. I would hope that it's stuff like that, but on a better scale than what I can implement as the president with my limited knowledge and limited resources, considering that it is the EPA and the international community that is on the ecosystems and the world and making sure that the world is safe and habitable.
Thank you. We have another question for you.
What's the current role America plays to deal with the climate change?
Wait, can you repeat?
Current role that America plays in climate change.
Current role of the American, well, considering I am the American president.
Yeah.
My current role, I want to be able to have a conversation so that way we can steer where this is going. Because right now, I feel like there's not enough information that we all can share. I feel like there's not enough of a conversation that we all have had. And that is why some countries are not understanding detriments of this that affect them. And if we can all work together, it's a lot better than one country working alone, even if it is a big country or a more wealthy country. That country's not going to do that much if they're working by themselves on this and everyone else is still in the dark or actively resisting them. So it's better if we have conversations now so that way we all get on the same page, so that way there's no mistakes, or if there are mistakes, they aren't as drastic as the ones that could have been made.
So how much possibility for the countries around the world to cooperate to deal with the climate change?
There's always so when you talk about possibilities of everyone cooperating, there's always a possibility that someone's not going to cooperate. However, if we put it into perspective of how it affects everyone, and how if we are able to at least diminish the effect, it's better for everyone. I feel like every country would have some take and be like, oh, this is interesting. Let's try it for some time, and then we'll see how it goes. Because it's basically an incentive to say we can stop that detrimental effect happening to our country as long as we help out. Because climate change affects everyone. It does not follow borders. Climate change that happens in America can affect Canada. Climate change that can happen near Taiwan can affect Taiwan. Climate change that happens somewhere in Africa can affect other countries in Africa. So this really matters to everyone. And I feel like that's why countries have more of an incentive to talk and to be a part of the conversation and to be a part of the research. And that's what I think is what we really should be focusing on.
Okay. And how about the undeveloped countries to deal with climate change? What would they do?
Undeveloped countries going through development and developing countries, those countries have had the rough stick due to histories of imperialism and things like that. But they still, if they want to, because there are detrimental effects of what has happened to them due to imperialism, and that has segued over into global climate change. I mean, Iran and Iraq have been robbed of oil multiple times over and over, and they are still getting the short end of the stick. But with global climate change, it's at least a way for them to get out of some detriment of it. It's at least a way for them to alleviate some of the effects of their past that necessarily wasn't fair to them. Same thing can be said for countries in Africa after European imperialism and European colonization. At least we can open up at least some detriment can be taken away, and there can be some positive to that situation after unfairness happens to them.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have questions for us? I'm not sure how much you heard from the presentations that the officials and the president gave.
I heard a slight bit. I'm sorry, I came late. I had travel issues.
Okay.
I can text you with it.
You had, I'll ask a quick question. You had one of your students were talking about fire ants. How big of a problem is importation of different species into Taiwan because it being an island? And how is that related to global climate change and stuff?
So you're talking about species that have been imported to Taiwan and affecting us, right?
Yes.
Anybody? Do you understand the question? 我们不是讲外来物种会影响我们呀，然后是怎么影响我们？再清楚一点，或是只有那个 fire ants 的问题？其实还蛮多那个宠物不是乱引进，宠物啊植物也是自己带进的呀。
就是没有监理以后大量生产然后破坏动物。
Yeah, go ahead.
The imported plants may affect the indigenous plants, like they will
They will occupy.
Yeah, they will occupy the indigenous plants inhabitants. So they will affect their lives.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have a question concerning, you said that you had an old nuclear power plant that you were probably going to shut down. Is that correct?
We have an old nuclear power plant that you plan to shut down?
Yeah. So
Do you want to shut down? Yeah.
I have a question.
Go.
I wasn't here for that part. So can you quickly go over the reasons for why you want to shut it down and what it has done to the environment?
Quickly do that.
And there are two ways to install the solar panel. One is installing them over the fishery sites which are no longer used, and the other is installing the solar panel over the fishery site to generate power and cool down the temperature for the fish.
How about nuclear? You want to discard, shut down old nuclear power plants?
In order to steady power supply, we have no intention to discard the nuclear power plants at present. And in the meantime, we will endeavor to develop renewable energy, like what she said, and we will and after we develop the new renewable energy successful, and so that we can both reduce the damage caused by the polluted power generation and have survive reliability.
And that's from the president, but the Director General of Energy has a different opinion.
I think restart the first nuclear plant and discard the first nuclear plant, because the first nuclear plant is the latest and it is more complete in technology and security.
Can I ask a question there? How are you going to shut and guarantee the safety of that nuclear power plant? How are you about to suggest to do that?
So the question is how you guarantee the nuclear power plant that has been restarted? Is that the question?
Yeah, how would you guarantee that? And how would you guarantee that when you shut a plant down that it's still not, it'll still have pollution problems for years to come? How do you guarantee both?
So for both restarting the fourth nuclear power plant as well as shutting down the first one, how do we guarantee that there are no more security problems with either both? For either of the both. Is there a way to let people know that you're safely shutting down the power plant? And is there a way to let people know that you are safely reopening, restarting the other one? Anybody?
The first nuclear power plant is so old, so we have more risk about using the first nuclear power plant. So in order to let the economy grows and rise, we should use the fourth nuclear power plant instead of using the first nuclear power plant.
But is there a guarantee that it will be safe?
We can't guarantee.
There is no guarantee. Okay, so that's the problem, probably.
We normally like to end these conversations by asking your class, what did you learn through this process?
Can we ask other questions before we answer that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yeah.
What is the main disaster caused by the climate change in your country?
Wait. Can you repeat that?
What is the main disaster caused by the climate change in your country?
Could you repeat just one more time? We didn't get quite the first part.
What is the main disaster caused by climate change in your country?
Mary, could you help us out a second? Because
Okay.
many are having difficulty understanding the very first part.
So, in the U.S., what is the main disaster that's caused by the climate change? Do you have any concrete examples?
Yeah.
The hurricanes, Hurricane Harvey, Irma. I don't even remember all their names, and that was just what, not even a year ago.
Yeah, we had in Texas here. I'll help out the kids. Say we had a Hurricane Harvey that hit Texas, went back out, then hit Texas again, and parts of Houston had 55, 60 inches of rain.
Oh, Puerto Rico is still horrible after what hurricane was it? Irma?
Okay. Well, we got our Puerto Rico, which was one of our territories, was devastated with tremendous difficulties. We've got hit this year with many different hurricanes, and then believe it or not, there's parts of the United States that are having a drought. So.
Oh yeah, California's on fire, having a drought and flooding, usually at the same time. That generally happens a lot.
So here in Texas, until about 2 years ago, we were in about a 4-year drought. We average about 30 inches of rain, and then we're in Austin. We have about 2.5 million people live in Austin, and our water supply, almost went to water rationing where I live. So, and water prices have gone way up. And the last couple of years, we've had probably 50, 60 inches of rain just because of the storms. But that's what's really causing problems here is water, drought, where we're at. And then a little bit south of us would be hurricanes.
Thank you.
So extreme weather causing a lot of natural disasters.
Yeah, right. And then California, we have earthquakes, and I know you've had earthquakes there quite a bit too.
Yes, that is correct. We have a last question for you.
Okay.
What do you think? Is it appropriate that we restart the nuclear power plant?
I feel like it's more of a question up to people who deal with energy and stuff. Also, considering the fact that I don't know enough about the Taiwan economy, Taiwan energy. If there are any problems in your country right now, I don't know enough about that to make a snap decision right here on the spot. I would say it matters on the situation. Like, if you think about it.
I think because we are an island country, so if there are any problems about a nuclear power plant, we have nowhere to escape. Yeah.
Aside from that, would you guys personally like to live by a power plant?
What was the question?
Aside from that, would you guys personally want to live by a power plant?
Yeah, would you like to personally live by, if you think it's so safe, would you want to build your house right next to a nuclear power plant?
Anybody who feels that a nuclear power plant being by where you live, is that okay? Raise your hand. 2, 3, okay. So 3, 4. 4 think it's okay.
Now, Mary, tell me what you and Brian think.
Personally, no, I don't want to live next to a nuclear power plant. Thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, some of us that can remember Chernobyl and Fukushima, or how I pronounce it, excuse me, they do have a tendency to eventually become obsolete or to have some sort of difficulty. And with some conventional plants, difficulty is okay, but that if you have difficulty and you're an island, I don't know where you'd go.
Exactly.
You can't evacuate to go someplace else. Okay, any more questions? Well, let's try
Yeah,
to.
I think we have one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
What would you do to improve the Paris Agreement?
I think that was the question that your president was saying. He said he wanted to have a better version of the Paris Agreement.
I will help Minnie out here a second. The Paris agreements, according to many people in the States, were kind of heavy-handed, and they were trying to go more towards the countries that are not really polluting as much as they used to pollute. So the idea was, and many people in the States believe, that maybe we should be more aggressive on the industries in China for particular and some other ones, because our pollution actually, if you look at the scale, I think it was your scale about CO2 per capita, in 1965, we're almost the same rate we were in 1965. However, in 1965, we had half the population we do today. So our pollution has actually gone down. China's pollution is going tremendously up and impacting many other countries. So I think that's what they need to look at, is a more general, realistic approach to what's going on today than it would be, the way the Paris Agreement is at this point. That's what they would say. I'm not sure. I'm not necessarily agreeing, but that's what Chance said. They could go to finish the test.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you wanted students to answer the question of how and what they have learned through the process?
Yeah, that'd be great. And then Minnie will here tell you what she's learned.
Before this connecting, I haven't thought of that cooperation is a strong power for countries around the world to deal with climate change. I just think of that every country has their own duty to deal with climate change. So it is a great idea to enlighten me. Thank you.
You're more welcome.
Okay, so more thoughts on collaboration and cooperation between countries in dealing with this issue. And we have another student. Yeah.
And I learned that it is difficult to formulate the strategy which should take account of all aspects of a country, not only to solve the problem of climate change, but we also need to give consideration about the economic and livelihood issue.
So she learned generally about taking all aspects into consideration, and negotiating among departments within the country can be as challenging and or more challenging than imagined. How about your side?
Go ahead. What can you learn?
I learned that cooperation between the countries can lead to an overall more general positive experience when solving this problem.
Yeah, and I think if we could talk for the other kids, I think we kind of learned that the air we breathe is not necessarily our own. And that kind of mirrors what the gentleman that began on your part. We used to always think pollution was like internal, but in many cases, the pollution actually depends on so many other factors way outside of our country that we had no real control over. You can't put a wall up around Taiwan and stop the air pollution from China in the wintertime, or you can't put up nets in the middle of the ocean to stop pollution. It just keeps on coming. So I think that would probably be the biggest thing you could gain from doing this on an international basis.
Yes, I think the students also realize how difficult it can be just negotiating and collaborating among the departments within a country, and then it is even more challenging, more difficult to reach out and have your solutions presented and then also accepted and even discussed among different countries to be carried out.
Oh yeah, and it's even difficult for all our students to get here on time. So you know, it was really nice that our couple volunteers that came in early to see, and you guys did a very good job. I was very impressed.
Were the presentations clear enough so that maybe you can view it later on?
Oh yeah, the presentations are clear. I'll send you a link here in about 10 minutes or so, and you can watch that. I think it was very well done. And like I said, this starts a process in which a dialogue that should be able to be mirrored by adults. And I think we'll send it into the model diplomacy people so they can kind of see that if we can have students from different countries doing this, why can't we have adults doing the same thing?
Exactly. And so perhaps if there's your students, other students who could make it to this connection, they can view it afterwards and they can give us feedback.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got 2 students that are going to come in here real quick. Come over. You might recognize her. That's Stephanie, and then Unisa. And Unisa is kind of unique because he'll tell you in a moment. He's a student from Africa. He'll tell you the country and everything. Okay? Tell him what you learned, Stephanie, by doing the model diplomacy.
For which one?
Climate change.
So for the model diplomacy for climate change, we had to do a lot of research, and not just on the sole definition of what it is, but the different aspects and how today's government contributes to how we view it, and how society also is divided depending on, oh, is it happening or it isn't. And so the research that I did was really interesting because it came from different point of views, and people who were scientists or just people who work like in the environmental agency and stuff like that.
Yeah, you need to tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Unisa Khan. I'm from Sierra Leone, that's West Africa. Located on the west coast of Africa. So,
how long you been here in the States?
I've been in the States like 1 year and like 6 months because I came in September 2016, September 10th. So it has been a great journey for me in the States.
Okay, and what did you learn?
I've learned so many things like the culture, like it's really a diverse culture here. So it's really a great experience for me.
Yeah, and he came speaking very little English, and he's been able to learn English fairly well. Now, we cannot learn English as well as Mary teaches it over there in Taiwan because our language appears to be not as good when it comes to second language learning. But I'm always admire the job that Mary does with her students, and you guys being English may be the 3rd or 4th language, and it's very important to do stuff like this too, so you can communicate in the English language as well, and we really do appreciate it. And we're looking forward to the Minnie will be doing some of the mock trials too coming up, so she's going to be a character.
Excellent. And so, have you set a date yet? I mean, have your students?
I don't know. See, we set a date for the 24th for the that week of the 20 something would be great for us. The 25th, we're flying out early that morning to go to Washington, D.C. for competition. So Thursday night, we're going to be doing the deal with South Australia, and then we're going to go from there. So if we could do it that week, that would be great. I don't know what.
Will you be able to?
Go ahead.
Will you be able to do it any other week?
I either could do it like that first week of June, but we can't really do it much earlier because we have to we're trying to do some other things, and that's going to take a little precedence for us.
Do you mean like early June? And
yeah, very early June.
When does your summer vacation begin?
June 7th.
7th.
Okay, so perhaps we can decide on an early June date, and then we probably start at your. We need to start at your 8. Will that guarantee all of your students to be here?
Yeah, and also that would be part of their final. So as soon as we find out what our final schedule is, I'll make sure they're here, because if not, we have some, now I have almost everybody in here at this point. If we could just okay, I'm trying to get them over to the camera so they can talk a little bit. But if before you leave, we might could just ask you some general questions, because we normally don't have that. So let me get Jessica over here, and she'll introduce herself, and she'll tell you what she learned from this, and then maybe get us a couple general questions.
Over here.
Would a Friday work for you, like June 1st? Would that work for you?
He just left the room, so I'll tell him.
Okay.
I'll tell him that you said June 1st.
Hello, my name is Jessica.
Hi.
Hello. From this, I learned a lot of things. That research really does change your opinion. And like many people believe one certain thing, but once you research it, you kind of start to look at their point of view, even though you were so against it. So, for example, wait, that's kind of change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, how some people believe that climate change isn't a real thing, and you kind of look at their argument, you kind of like see where they're coming from, but at the same time, your basic beliefs will trump that at the end. What else? Does someone else want to go?
Yeah. Do you have any questions for us, like?
Yeah.
About culture?
General questions for USA or Texas, USA?
Yeah.
Any general questions that you might be curious about? Sure. We have a serious question.
What's your opinion about the trade war between China and America?
Okay. Oh man, this trade war. It's interesting how it's playing out. Yeah, that's my only. Yeah, that's the only. It's interesting. Wait, I have a question. So this, all right. So the trade war that's going on that you just mentioned, how does it affect you? Because how does China's economy affect you, if it does?
Well, for right now, we're only seeing the so-called effects on the news because we haven't really experienced it. But I'm seeing on the news that in some aspect, Taiwan is probably benefiting from it because a lot of the companies are moving to Taiwan, or either moving to Taiwan or collaborating with Taiwan more frequently because of the problems that the two, U.S. and China are creating or having right now. So I don't know if that's the long-term effect or the short-term effect.
Yeah.
But do you feel the effect or influence on you yet?
No, but I also don't have a job yet, so that's probably a good.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
any questions? Other question, less serious? I have a less serious question. Is there a strict dress code for your school?
No, well,
Yeah, can't you tell?
kind of, but
Yeah, kind of. For the girls.
yeah,
mostly.
it's mostly for the
For
girls.
the girls.
Or I've seen Alex. You know,
Yeah,
like,
this.
Oh.
yeah, he gets dress code a lot too. So I think it's more. We have announcements right now. Wait, hold on.
Good morning, Bell Valley High School. This is just a reminder.
Over the.
Yeah, that usually doesn't happen.
Guys,
Am I just dumb?
yeah, I thought I stopped that. I'm really.
But as you were saying, yeah, it's usually it is somewhat strict, but it's usually more applied to certain people on certain aspects because I know they keep on getting the girls for like indecency, but I noticed that they get more black people and more Hispanic people on like gang related stuff.
Oh yeah.
So it's more like it's strict, but it's only applied on certain groups of people depending on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're saying that probably not from indecency, but from showing gang affiliation, I guess?
It matters on different, like, for girls, like, girls get caught a lot on certain aspects of the dress code that other people wouldn't get caught on, and other people get caught on aspects that, like, the girls probably wouldn't get caught on. So it's strict, but it's strict depending on, like, depending on how, like, you present yourself, and generally other factors.
Yeah, and you see Madison's dressed up today, and they're having a presentation. Chance is dressed fairly nice with a really nice collared shirt and stuff, but we won't show you his rest of his clothes, okay? And then Jessica here is dressed very nicely, but that would be a typical type of day. And our weather's going kind of bipolar. We were like in the 80s the other day, high 80s, and then it went down to the 40s. And now today it's going to be in the 70s. And much of our air conditioning is not working really well. So most of the times if it gets in the high 80s here lately, we're adding a bunch to our building. In fact, next year I'll be moving to another building, and I'll show you, we'll have a little courtroom inside our classroom. So that'll be really nice.
It's interesting because in Taiwan, we're also experiencing the roller coastering of the temperature rising and falling drastically recently. It could be very warm one day and then suddenly it's very, very, very chilly.
Yeah,
the next.
We're having 40-degree or above shifts from day to day. So we have Madison got really, really sick, but we have like allergies and stuff too. But it's easy for the kids to get sick very quickly when you have 40-degree temperatures. Swap.
Whoa. Okay. So I'll work out. Yeah, I'm gonna work out a date with you soon so that students can get settled. And I was asking, forgot your name. Sorry. June 1st.
Oh yeah, they said that they wanted to do was June 1st.
Would June 1st Friday work for you?
That should probably be great. I'll make sure that we'll have the right people here to do that, and then we'll do that June 1st one.
Okay.
Yeah, so that we can at least ensure that it won't run into your final exams, right? Which is probably on the week of the 4th, right?
Right, exactly right. I don't think if something's different, you never know. They have a tendency to change stuff at the last minute. But I think that should be fine, and we'll be prepared, and that'll be great for us because, like I said, we got some kids going national competition that week before, and then we're working on some stuff here in Moot Court. Then we have one more thing. We have Food for Thought next week, and we should have about 8 schools again. And then on May the 1st, we're doing a conspiracy conference, which is kind of neat, but we're going to be having schools all around the world offering different, not conspiracies, but, different anomalies and stuff like that. So if you want to either be live, or we're going to do it from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, or you want to send something in tape, that'd be great.
Okay, so I probably, that's the week prior to our midterm, so probably if we can participate at all, we'll probably have to have that on a video.
Yeah,
but you can. Yeah, but you're gonna, maybe you can provide more information on how we want to present, what we want to present in the video.
Well, I was actually thinking,
or what?
I was actually thinking something about, you know, the, I don't know how this would go, but how about when I was a kid, I remember meeting Madam Chiang Kai-shek, and she came to our school and gave a talk, which was really, you know, kind of amazing. But I would like to know exactly what happened when the national China, when Mao Zedong kicked out the people and the people came to Taiwan. You know, that could be kind of an interesting thing, how you become, you know, or you're president of a country and the next thing you know, you're fleeing. I don't know if that could actually be something that you could talk about or not, but it would be fascinating to other people. I got people in Iran talking about the '53 revolt when they redid the Shah back, you know. So we're actually talking about real-time events that other people may not know that much about, and how we end up like with the one China policy and stuff.
Okay, let me see if we can come up with something.
Okay.
And I'll get back to you. And we'll be waiting to do the mock trial on June the 1st with you. We look forward to that very much.
Okay, and I'll try to see if I can find an attorney or somebody to at least, not necessarily give verdict, but at least give deals for, like, if you have objections or something, okay?
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you so much, bye-bye.
Bye, Brian. Thanks a lot, kid.